Hello, good evening, good morning, and welcome to the first live stream of May. The theme for this month is mirror, and I struggled a little bit previously with, having a theme and then having, I would like to create a little bit more outside of the live streams and the Zoom calls. So what I decided to do for this month, and I cheated, of course, a little bit, and I actually started somewhere end of April, was I cut up a bunch of oil paint paper into, manageable pieces, 20 by 20 centimeters. And I decided to try and, just create something every few days, not necessarily every day. That was the goal. Whenever I say, oh yeah, every day, it never really works for me. So I decided to do that, and then I ended up with this theme of mirror, and I felt like, I don't know, you know how sometimes things click and things fall into place. And what I felt at some point was that I lost touch a little bit with my need to create something that is floating around in my head, or feelings or struggles or bad dreams or whatever. And my easiest outlet is a visual representation of that. And for some reason, I seem to choke on that a little bit every now and then, and I know it has to do with some insecurities and some whatnots. But as ever, it's a process, and we're gonna go right through it like a speed train. So here we are. Thank you for joining me in the chat. Let's see. Linda is here. Hi, Ariana. I'm very happy to hear that your dog is doing great. It was on my mind, and I thought about, sending you a message, Linda, but I was like, maybe you're like high anxiety. But yeah, I think we all had you on our minds. So I'm very happy that she's home. That's great. Welcome, Elizabeth. Welcome, Marie-Rose. So let's get started. First of all, I got this email. I'm gonna start painting, don't worry. I got this email when I was at my mom's today, and there was gonna be a show of an Indian painter, female painter. I'm like, what? And her name is Amrita Shergill. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I hope so. I will put the name in the chat, but it was going to be the first time that her paintings were going to be shown anywhere, I think outside of India. And they had to cancel the show last minute because of geopolitical tension. That was the phrase, and I was like, okay. And now we got an email, like, it's starting in 10 days, the show, so I'm really happy. I'll put her name, because you can run that through Google. Oh. Yes, there we go. And learn something about another really great female artist who is not from Europe or from the American continent. A lot of times when you Google that, you get a lot of, Eurocentric information. And I feel like it's important to expand. What are they gonna do? Yeah. Okie doke. I'm gonna switch. Alrighty. I have a panel here that I slapped some stuff on, minus the pinky outline here. And it's not gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. It needs to go. So I'm gonna paint right over it. I have this sunk cost fallacy syndrome when it comes to panels that I started, that I need to finish them, yada yada yada. No. So we're gonna work over that. We're gonna work through the sunk cost fallacy while doing some kind of weird self-mirroring thing. You're curious now. Yes, you should be. So, you know, look it up. It is, I'm gonna say this in Dutch because it's not gonna work in English. It is in het Drents Museum in Assen. So, yeah, that's it. It's worth it. I think it's worth it. All right, I got some paint here. This is white Indian yellow that is dripping for some reason. Red iron oxide and ultramarine blue. But I have here, put this away. I'm gonna start with some black. I have some ivory black, and this is a lid, yeah. And we're gonna put some. We're actually gonna put some Gamsol in there. And I don't know if you read my own. I can't open these bottles, I swear. Read my Instagram post. I was gonna do charcoal, graphite, whatever, with Gamsol. And hold on, I'm just. Yep, we're good. I made this mistake before when I wanted to put Gamvar on a painting, and instead I got Gamsol. But you kind of notice that because Gamsol is a lot more like water. Also, it's not that big a deal if you put Gamsol on a dry oil painting surface. But in this case, I dissolved my charcoal in Gamvar, and for some reason my brain was not braining, and I was thinking, you know, it's so smooth, it's so nice, why does it feel so nice? Because Gamsol is pretty aggressive. And after 2 days I noticed that I was using a varnish instead of a solvent, and I like it. It's nice. Yeah, so what I was gonna do first before I slap everything on was gonna block out what I wanted to block out. And I tried and did some dimensions of my own face, but I don't like where it's at. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that here. And maybe tilt it a little bit. So what I usually do is I measure my face like from the hairline here to the bottom of the chin, and then I measure the width from the outer edges of the face, so not the ears, but the zygomatic bone, which is this bone, yeah? So this is the widest part of your face. And then you got a bit of an outline that you can kind of work with. I want to keep a few spaces open. I'm not really sure if I'm actually going to keep them open, but just be on the safe side. I'm working in oil, so it's gonna take a little bit to dry. I hate having to open difficult bottles, yes. Yep. Yeah, and also, you know, the gambling bottles are incredibly difficult to open. I don't know why. And I don't have like issues with my hands or anything, but so I just poured the, I don't know if you can see it, I just poured the Gamsol in. I'm pretty sure this is not any kind of condoned practice, but yeah. We'll see when the paint comes off, right? One thing I struggle with painting over existing stuff without gessoing it is I just find it incredibly distracting, and my brain sort of tries to paint around it. One thing with oil paint though, it's not like I care now, but one of the things to think about when you paint over stuff is that oil paint apparently has a tendency to become a little bit more transparent as it ages. And I don't know what that means. Like, do they mean 10 years, 100 years? I have no clue. But there are works from several artists in museums that you can sort of see very faintly what was painted underneath. Okie dokie. Man. It's funny how you kind of feel like you can scratch into it, but it's not it's not very scratchable. You can take, however, when you work with Gamsol and Esolve, you can take quite a bit off if you want. Like that. All right, I'm gonna mix some white. And make some kind of greenish, muted greenish. So I thought I would like grab my high chroma stuff again, but I don't really want it to be that. So we're gonna have to tone that down a little bit with some red. That reminds me of how difficult it is to mix under artificial light. Yep, that looks fine. So how have you been doing? Tell me things. School vacation is over here today. School is starting again tomorrow, but not for very long. It's not a very long day, so, but still. So it was a funny thing. I had a student of mine leave a comment on my blog, also referring to the fact that sometimes you draw or you paint people and then other people's likeliness, I don't know, starts to appear. And the funny thing is, when I paint people that aren't necessarily actual people, I tend to make them look like me. So if I don't pay attention, this is not a problem now because it's fever-induced self-portrait dream, but sometimes I need to pay attention that I'm not painting things that are too much like me. It's not always what you want. I remember the first time that somebody pointed it out to me, and I don't know if it was you, Mom, who pointed that out to me. I think it actually was. I remember the first thought or feeling was embarrassment, because you kind of feel, or I kind of feel like you're not supposed to do that. Self-absorbed is what comes to mind. And it's what I find so interesting about the whole topic of self-portraiture is that for a lot of people, it brings up personal limitations, but also societal limitations and limitations from the way you were raised, not just by your parents, but by school and by culture and media and friends and whatnot. I went to the AMI exhibition in Amsterdam with a bro. That's great. Yeah, that must be really impressive. We talked about it. That's cool, Linda. That's a good, attitude to have. I'm so happy with the 2 portraits of myself. I get lots of comments. That's really cool. Yeah, it's funny because I did 2 portraits of my mom, and the difference between the 2 in terms of, style, but also modeling, it's really different. I actually remember the first portrait that I painted of my mom. It was one of the first things that I recorded and sort of put on YouTube. I think if you look back, I think it's called Mother also, and I think if you look back in my videos, you can find it. It's a sped up video. That's cool. We went to the portrait award, the competition show last year, and I took that portrait of my mom with me, and like some of these people who were taking the paintings in and then, putting them away, they were like, whoa, okay. I never really know if it was a bad thing or a good thing or just a general like, okay thing. But I remember this one lady saying, oh, my mom said something about the painting, and she was like, oh, it's the famous person. And my mom was like, no, it's me. And this lady was like, I don't know how to look at you or say what to say to you. And it was this really weird awkwardness, but there was also this sense of rigidness there. And at some point I was almost content that people were a little bit uncomfortable, I guess, with my really not so shocking portrait. Like, it wasn't that shocking. If stuff like that shocks you, yeah, you need to chill. Anyways, it was kind of the first time I felt almost happy with my abrasiveness. When you do a lot of self-portraits, you find many faces verge toward what you do. Yeah, that's really true. Is it the second one also on Instagram? I really don't know on Instagram. Like, Instagram's such chaos for me. So the first one I did was the black and white. And it was a fun process because I started in black acrylic washes, and then I would like shape out the face. With white gesso. It was a good thing, yeah. All my portraits kind of look like me a little. That's really cool. An abstract and a friend said, wow, it looks just like you. That's kind of cool. That woman called the painting so dark. Yeah. Yeah, they appreciate a lot of things in Belgium that they don't appreciate here. That's why we like Belgium. Alright, so I was gonna been using this, and I mix in a little bit of this Gamsol black that I have going on there. I'm not a huge fan of the orange now. Let's see if we can fix that. Yeah, born in Antwerp. So here's the difference. So this is magenta, and this is transparent red iron oxide. The end. And when you mix the black in it, it tends to lean a little bit purple. Which is like a Zorn palette type of logic, right? Where your black can act as a blue and then create like a purplish shade, not like purple, but it's a bit dark. Born in Amsterdam. That's a great city too. By the way, I saw today that there is an exhibition in Amsterdam in Loods 6 with paintings by Hans van der Leeuw. Hans van der Leeuw was a contemporary Dutch portrait painter with a very unique style. I don't know if you know him, Ariana, but he recently passed away, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately, yeah. You know, ripe old age and all that. But he was quite active on Instagram. And, yeah, I was a big fan of his work. Yeah, you can still, his Instagram account, I think, is still active if you just search in Instagram for Hans van der Leeuw. I think his son is maintaining his. Oh, and I shared the promo video they created on my stories. So if you're interested, you can see it there. I have to say that I'm not a huge fan of a lot of contemporary Dutch artists. A few, and he was one of them. Yeah, we do. We do need to go to Drenthe. The book of that show is already available in their shop, so I have to restrain myself from ordering it. Art books in general are like my financial downfall, you know. But look, if we go broke, at least we have books. Right. It does need to be in my library. Yeah, it needs to be there. And yeah, it made me realize also how, and I said it before, but how very Eurocentric the information available here is. And it's so interesting to learn about artists from different parts of the world, you know. I kept thinking, like, do I know an artist from any country from the African continent, or an Arab. Like, I'm half Arab, and I don't know any Arab artist whatsoever. I feel a Wikipedia rabbit hole coming up tonight. Just kidding. Totally gonna go to bed on time. Sometimes I look at my live stream to check my composition. I find it really helpful. Like, it's different. Normally when I work, when I work like this, I walk around, but that's not really gonna happen with cables everywhere. So yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, in Arnhem. That's really cool. Yeah, I feel like ever since some people pointed out that there are also female artists, you know, and maybe we should do something with that, it kind of opened the door to just generally more inclusive representation in art. And I think when you look at history, human history, it happens in that same order, you know, where when in a country where women's rights are better situated, you automatically see a shift to more inclusivity in general. I think it's also what I generally say, you know, whenever women's rights are withdrawn, like in some countries in the world right now, you also see a decline in the preservation of rights for gay people, colored people, all kinds, like everything that isn't male and white. Because it's more of a sign of a bigger problem than it is like an individual thing towards women. Titanium white is so strong in terms of its tinting strength is that when I put straight black in here, it just turns to gray. Hey, Kim, thank you for the information. I thought I received a newsletter from Arnhem Museum, but I think maybe not. I'm gonna have to check that. Yeah. Oh, paint on my face will forever be a thing. Yeah, I need more black. Hold on. Got like 5 colors out, and we need more black, right? Part of an expo about nudity in art. Oh, that's, oh, I think you mentioned that. That sounds cool. Might be a little bit off camera here at the bottom. I just want to try one thing before we... Sometimes when I paint in sessions, obviously, because I'm not like, I don't know how people do it, but I can't work on one thing for 4 hours straight. That is never ever going to happen. So sometimes what I do when I work on something and then I want to put it away, I want to remind myself that I want to sort of include some things later. And I tried doing like documents where I write down notes, or I also had like some post-its on the back or a sheet of paper where you can write down notes. But sometimes I put what I want to do or want to do more of into the painting so I don't forget. And also to check if I like it, right? If you put part of it in, you can still take it off, you know, let it dry. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. Okay, that not so much. Cool. My sun set. The sun is setting. Again, this is the sun. Cool. Thank you. I dropped my brush. Hold on. There we go. Oof. All right. This is gonna be like a feature for probably while we're here, because I'm gonna move my working space to the other room in the summer. But for now, the passing sunset over our work is gonna be here. Let me read up. Yeah, it's so cool. Like, you have that work, and it's a really great work. And I'm not just saying that because you're my friend, but you live in Arnhem. That is so cool. We love Arnhem. My mom loves Arnhem. My grandmother lived in Dieren. So we always traveled by train over Arnhem. And I think we went to Arnhem Museum twice now, I think. Yeah, I like Arnhem. It's cool. Cool city. Thank you, Ariana, for being here. We're gonna leave it at this. Yeah, we'll see. Even though it looks very white, it's a pretty thin layer. I think it will dry pretty quickly, so not too concerned about that. I'm just laid back today. Sorry, I'm sad to say I won't be able to make your upcoming Zoom. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It is Gretchen's follow-up appointment. Did I say apartment? Appointment. Well, you give her our love, and we will be thinking about Gretchen. Everybody's favorite dog. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Zoom call will be next, like Linda said, on the 15th. She knows better than I do. We will continue. If I continue in the meantime, I will record, but I will probably just continue with my not daily, but kind of sort of every other daily thing on Instagram. And thank you for joining me again tonight, and I will see you next time. Bye bye. Mwah.